Hi guys, Capital, conversations about purpose and the art of living. Just wanting to put down some brief thoughts about knowledge. I think there's a kind of spectrum of knowledge, which goes, and this is not like a hierarchy, it's just my own thoughts about it, but it goes from knowledge of facts, external facts, the height of things, the size of things, the weight of things, the distance of things, the relationship between things, up and down, left and right. Some people might think of this as just a construct of the brain, but I think these are objectively true, external truth. Plate tectonics doesn't operate just because we choose to describe it in a particular way, and birds don't build nests just because we call it a nest. They do what they do, and we find ways of describing it. Kind of like tangent to that actually is that I think our language is more direct than many people give credence to. In other words, it's not just representational or metaphoric, but I think there must have been some primary language that has a direct connection between the utterance, the sound, and the things that we're describing. Onomatopoeia is obviously a case in point. Bang, shh, that kind of thing. But I think it goes much deeper than that. And I think it's connected very much to another aspect of consciousness that I adhere to, which I don't see very much in the modern conversations, which is consciousness within the context of the body and the world and society and culture. I don't think you can separate out these things. Anyway, so back to to knowledge. So there's facts, but then I think there are opinions, which are, like someone once said, like arseholes. Everyone's got one, and most of them smell. And they're just subjective points of view. You have knowledge of, I don't know, your preferences. You have knowledge of your tastes. You have knowledge of how you feel about the world. And you have feelings and opinions about all these things, and they're not either right or wrong, they're just what they are. But it's not simple as that, because many people also believe that all knowledge is subjective, and I disagree with that. So then there's cultural knowledge. There's kinds of understanding of the world. And it might be spiritual, it might be intergenerational, it might be to do with parenting, or families, kinship groups, rituals, behaviours, attendance at church or community events, totems and taboos, likes and dislikes that are enculturated, as it were. It's hugely powerful. It's got nothing to do necessarily with another branch of knowledge, which we might call knowledge arising from the scientific method. And my belief is that the knowledge arising from the scientific method is the most robust in the sense of the method, not of its claims. And what I mean by that is that the method puts up propositions to peer scrutiny, critique and review. And it also, in its most pristine or in my view right version, demands an adherence to the principles of testability, evidence-based, and falsification. That is, if a claim made can't be falsified under any circumstance, then it's not really knowledge. So if you take something like evolution, certain fossils in a different order would blow the whole theory apart. We haven't found any yet, like finding mammals before dinosaurs, but if we did, it would seriously undermine, therefore make refutable, the claims made on the part of evolution. And the same for physics. There are ways in which Einstein's laws of relativity could be refuted if certain processes and physical actions didn't happen in the way that the theory and the mathematical underpinnings predicted. Therefore, elements of that can be falsified. I think this is really strong as a way of having a basis for knowledge. And then there's knowledge which is intuitive, which might differ from culture to culture, but often transcends culture. So I think there was Darwin or Wallace, or in that environment, produced this picture graph of different facial expressions across different cultures, different ethnic groups, and universally everyone recognised when someone looked sad or angry or frightened or deluded, scared out of their wits, happy, content, etc. And I think these things transcend culture, but we know them from whatever source, I don't know. It seems to be hardwired. In the same way that we have knowledge of each other, which is sometimes enculturated, sometimes not. Sometimes people from different cultures meet, fall in love, develop relationships, and those can be forbidden by their cultures and taboo in certain settings, but we do that anyway. And then there is moral knowledge, and there's a big debate about whether morality is objective or just purely subjective, whether it transcends culture or is culturally specific. And in another vlog I'll be discussing all of these things in much more detail. My personal view at the moment is that there is such a thing as objective morality, and indeed, if there wasn't, we wouldn't be here today. It would be impossible. But anyway, so we've got cultural knowledge, we've got knowledge of facts, and then we've got knowledge of scientific method, we've got subjective personal knowledge and opinions, and then we've got knowledge which is acquired through direct learning. So knowledge of, say for example, I've learnt chess. I know how to play chess, I know the rules of chess, I am knowledgeable about chess to a certain degree. I'm not an expert, but I know the rules. Same with guitar. The knowledge about guitar playing is almost limitless in its potentiality, but I know the theory, I know musical theory, I know scales, I know about triads, I know how to play a few tunes, so I have knowledge of these things. The knowledge of chess, though, and compare that to the knowledge of guitar, is very interesting, because the knowledge of chess is also potentially infinite. There are more potential moves in chess than there are apparently atoms in the universe. Very few of us have anywhere near the faculty to engage with that, but it's probably infinite. And the same with music, but they're obviously of different qualities. So then there is this thing, knowledge of quantity and knowledge of quantity. And then there's knowledge of history. And there is a contest over our interpretation and understanding of history. And then there's specialist knowledge of physics, chemistry, of biology, etc., etc. Anyway, so I've counted maybe 8 different forms of knowledge. And I want to set that out because the claims that I make going forward in the conversations with other people have to, in some sense, be contextualized by what kind of knowledge we're actually talking about.